It's important to have the ever valuable handyman. We've got an expert here who's going to talk about it. Stay tuned for this, everybody. Super handyman in the building. Welcome everyone to the Your Little Castle show. We're highlighting those leaders in our community, making a difference on our little planet. And we have an expert here with 45 years of experience. And he said, hey, now we're going to do I'm going to take a little bit of a load off and become the handyman now. With all the experience running, owning, flipping apartments, homes for 45 years. He said, this handyman, this is where you want to be. You've been doing this for almost a half a decade now.
Yeah, but I'm retired and I like keeping busy, so it has more to do with keeping busy and doing stuff on the side per se.
There you go, everybody. So somebody's found their place. Your son has done well too, and he's played some sports.
He played baseball in college and got drafted, but now he's got a real job in Denver.
We all get to live that dream just a little bit.
Yes, he did.
All right. Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle, and you might have a little castle that's been worked on by the super handyman, Dave Uxa here, and he has helped us to, Don has helped us to find out the importance of why that handyman is so valuable. He said water heaters have become one of the most important things that people have worked on these days. You're doing lots of water heaters.
I've done a fair amount of water heaters in my life, yes.
Well, let's put up on the wall, everybody. You've got a nice looking website here. We'll put this on big segment of your website over here and over there. And Don, welcome to the Your Little Castle show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell me, we gave a little bit away there about what led you to the handyman industry, but it is something where you get to control a little bit more of your destiny, and you decided after many years successful career, you said, the handyman thing is where I want it. Why do you enjoy what you're doing now?
I retired and I sat around the house for a couple of weeks and it didn't work out for me. And I had a neighbor lady call me. She had someone gave her a bid to fix her foundation, and I went and looked at it. I said, "There's nothing wrong with your foundation whatsoever. The guy is trying to sell you a bill of goods." And so she didn't have the foundation period, and then she had a problem with the plumbing thing, and the same thing again. They had done some work, and I said, "That's not the problem. The real problem is there was a sewer clogged, and it wasn't the stack that needed to be replaced." So I got my auger machine out, and I kicked the clog loose and solved her problem after she spent $6,000 trying to fix the wrong problem. And I see that a lot.
Okay.
There just aren't the experienced guys in the business today. You know, most of the tradesmen are retiring. The guys who've been doing it for 30, 40 years are retiring, and the younger guys just don't have the experience of seeing stuff.
And when somebody with your experience, you get most of your experience by running your own apartments complexes? Is that where
Correct.
You get the most
running my own crews and doing that kind of stuff.
And then with that, you're like, okay, we know how to get. Now you've seen a couple examples of people getting ripped off, and you're like,
yes,
I can't let this go anymore. So you saw a need and came in to fill it.
Yes, and I'm looking to work part-time in retirement, and my wife and I travel for a month, so that's what I'm doing on my spare time per se. It gives me something to do.
Well, there you go, and that's what we're all looking for, something a little fit where we can contribute. But you've earned it, and long history. You must have started young because 45 years.
At 23, I got into the real estate business, and buying houses and flipping houses back then, gotten into the commercial real estate business back then.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what gave you a lot of experience,
yes.
Vast experience, and so that's why. Now, how did you pick the name Super Handyman?
It just came to me one time, and I said, pick Super Handyman. I didn't want handyman didn't work, so I had to put something in front of it.
Right.
But I can fix a lot of things around the house. I don't do as much of that as I used to. I've gotten more just into doing the plumbing work because there's so few plumbers nowadays. Right. So I've been doing less work around the house.
But plumbing, I've had, they're talking about how AI is going to take over the world right now. And they said if you're going to get any new job, they're still going to need plumbers because the AI can't do all of everything that's going to have to be done for plumbing. Is that true?
Well, yeah, but that's true with any of the trades. I mean, AI can't pound a nail, and AI is not going to be able to shingle a roof. But at the end of the day, you're still better off going to college than you are getting into the trades.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. What is the average income? I mean, I don't know the exact numbers in front of me, but a college graduate earns an extra $1 million in a lifetime.
Sure.
And the average debt for college, I think, is like $35,000. So if you're going to spend $35 and make $1 million in a lifetime, and the other thing that you don't look at too, from a trade standpoint, unfortunately, is if you're a plumber and electrician, you spend 30 years in the trades, your body's done. At the age of 55, 60, you retire because you have to. Your job, you can do this till you're 75 or 80.
My dad always said, get an inside job with no heavy lifting, right?
Absolutely, and you can do it till you're 65, 70, 75. If you're a union plumber, a union electrician, whatever the trade is, it's tough. But it is a place you can make decent money moving forward.
Yeah, well, that's why I say get into some area where you do enjoy what you're doing, and
Absolutely.
It sounds like you found a niche for yourself. And you've even narrowed it down. You can what is the most common call you get requested that people need a repair for?
Basically, it's just plumbing work. The sink's bad, pressure relief valve's bad, a hot water heater might need some work to it. There's a variety of things, but basically in my line of work now, I'm dealing with plumbing work because there are very few plumbers out there. So I don't get a list of stuff from the house as far as fixing windows and carpet and carpentry work because I've narrowed my handyman work down to plumbing.
Yeah, so I say ultimately you've kind of figured your niche within the handyman realm.
Correct.
But electrical work you can do it, but it's not your caveat, and you're not. You still get those calls, and do you just say?
I get those calls from the repeat customer, and a lot of times I'm fixing something, and they go, by the way, can you put a receptacle in? I was at a house this morning where the guy needed a receptacle for a gas stove, and he didn't have one because the electric stove was there, but it's the wrong voltage. So he didn't know that. He puts the gas line in and goes, well, now I don't have anything to plug this gas stove in. I need electric because that's what runs the brain. So I was able to run, just to put a receptacle in for the gas stove.
Okay, yeah. And so you've got, again, carving a niche out there. What is it that's most rewarding about what you enjoy about doing this work as a handyman?
It's been fun to do. It pays well, and it keeps me out of the house, and people appreciate it. This crazy thing about just showing up on time. I mean, it's a concept out there that carpenters and tradesmen have a tendency not to show up on time. Half the jobs I get, I'm the only one who showed up. Give them a bid, and I'm willing to do the work.
They need it fixed, and they got somebody here who looks like he's got some experience, and we'll make sure this gets done correctly. And
correct.
We got the history to prove it. Rewarding. You enjoy what you're doing though, because it says over here 40 years of experience in the construction, maintenance, and apartments, housing. That kind of background really makes this job not, I wouldn't say easy, but at least you're very knowledgeable about it.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the things that the trades are sort of missing is as us older guys are retiring, there's a big missing of the person who's worked for a plumbing company for 20 years or so. There's the guys who are just starting who have been there for 5 years, and the guys who have been there for 40 years or 30 years who are retiring out. So you really don't have that. The guy goes, yeah, I remember doing this problem 15 years ago or 20 years ago. It's harder to find people who've got the experience of remembering, yeah, this is not how this is going to happen because I broke this once 20 years ago, and I told myself I'm not going to break this again.
Yeah, once you've been through something like that, you don't want to have to learn it. Well, again, back to the expertise. You have a passion for this, so you enjoy what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely.
Does that make it easy for you?
Yes.
They say if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. If you kind
Correct.
of carve that out, you also have that autonomy now. We talked about you're in that. You're technically, would you consider yourself in a mode of retirement? But now you get to kind of pick and choose when you want to work and what you want to do.
Absolutely. My retirement for my wife and myself was we go somewhere fun for a week every month, and that's what we do.
1 week a month to take a vacation because he's put in the time. I like
Yes.
to emphasize to people it's because you got into the real estate world. The real estate world, we talked a little bit in our pregame prep, we call it, but has evolved quite a bit. And there used to be more money in flipping houses, and you've seen in the last 5 years or so that's not as available as it used to be.
When I started in the real estate business, there was truly a wholesale division per se in the housing market. Because if houses sat on the market for 90 days was an average back in whatever that was, 1985, 1995. And if you had a house that needed a lot of work, the average person out there would not buy it. Starting, pre-COVID or COVID, you could have the worst house in the block and you'd have 5 bids on it, and you don't have to wholesale it out. So flipping houses has not worked out as well, at least for me. I haven't done one in years because of it. There's just not the profit in it that there used to be because the retail market has eliminated the wholesale market.
And is that kind of what has led you here to the handyman profession? You feel there's a need for that now because the houses are built. It's the maintenance that people are going to have now that they have to get these houses taken care of versus building a new house from scratch and flipping. The handyman position has become lucrative.
The handyman position is paid very well just by having the knowledge of what needs to be fixed. There's so many times I go into someone's house and I just say, I'm here to fix the plumbing, but what other issues do you have? I'm not going to fix them, but I can tell you what's wrong and I can tell you who to call and what to expect, because they're like, this doesn't work, we don't know why. And well, that doesn't work because the foundation's a problem because of this or whatever, and explain to them what the problem is. I'm saying, I'm too old to dig out your foundation and tell you how to fix it. I used to be able to do that, but I don't do it anymore, but at least I can give them a solution to how to solve the problem, whereas some people just don't have that experience.
Are the houses still being built to the same quality? Or where are we at with regard to some people have told me that the housing industry has evolved a little bit to where it's more cookie cutter, more lesser, higher quality stuff sometimes, and they break down more often, or where are we at? Is the quality still there?
As far as the quality is concerned, I mean, if the codes and the building of a tract home out in, call it West County, that's not an issue. I mean, if you have someone who's trying to build their own home without a building codes, that's going to be an issue. But if you go to any house out in West County or wherever, O'Fallon or whatever, those houses are going to be built fine because they're done with licensed electricians, licensed plumbers. Where the problem you'd run into is the quality of maybe the finish, but the HVAC system, the plumbing system, and all that won't be a problem.
So you think that the codes that are continually upgraded, that helps hold the feet to the fire to make sure that we are still getting good quality stuff? Because you see what happens in third world countries. They don't have those codes. Those buildings fall over, electrical fires, all kinds of stuff. We don't worry about that as much here in the United States.
The code's absolutely been a fabulous thing for the end homeowner at the end of the day. The simple example, it would be back in the 40s or whatever, there wasn't a code that you had to put a shutoff valve at every appliance. I mean, at the toilet and at the vanities and stuff. So they wouldn't put them in, and then you have a problem with your sink. Now you got to shut off the water of the house in order to fix the sink. Well, then they told the code people, said, no, you have to put a shutoff so that you can fix the sink without having to turn all the water off. And codes have been done because someone got hurt, someone died. It's not because the code people wanted to make the electricians more money. It's because someone got hurt.
Yeah, we many times those lessons are learned the hard way. And so but codes are always changing and updating. And do you see from different town to town, the codes are different depending what years, and do they fluctuate a little bit? You're saying we got the 2019 codes, we got the 2025 codes. Does that vary at all?
Different municipalities adopt different codes that are running anywhere from 2 to 5 years behind. But every new code that comes out, I mean, they're just changing, they're tweaking codes here and there. So the minor differences isn't going to make a difference because they're so isolated. But they are updating codes every year as you walk down the road.
And 95% of your codes are for the base, for core things.
Right.
They've always been the same way.
Right.
Construction models they have now, and so that they're put into good quality and
yes.
things stand up. And a handyman like yourself can make sure that they're being followed.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have quality people who are doing the work for you, in general, it's not a problem.
Very good. Well, with that, we'll talk about some of the community stuff we get to do out there. The Cardinal Cowboy gets to run into people all the time. Ran into a kid, his name's Braxton, which is the same name as my dad. So listen to some of the fun we had talking to our buddy Braxton. All right, everybody, we're outside of Patios. This is where all the best baseball fans go. Get a good picture right there of Patios there. I'm paying my camera guy here. Sonny, we agreed to pay you double what we paid you last time, right? All right, we all know how much that is. So a little bit of the excitement we had here the other day, annually we make a trophy, right? This trophy right here is this year's trophy. It does get a little weathered, let's just say, over time. And I happen to have decided, I had a guy come up to me and goes, hey, Cowboy, what's up? I told him I'd come back. I did come back. A lot of times when I get caught up, but that happened to initiate. He goes, "What's up with the trophy?" I said, "Well, we do kind of a dedication. It's in memory of my father who raised me on baseball, right? Which is a great thing to be raised on." And I signed it right there. And then as I signed it, I put Braxton, and I put dedicated it, Braxton Rethridge. That's my dad. 38 seconds later, I go walking down. I see a youngster who's got, this is the same hat you were wearing that game? And I go up to him, I'm like, "Hey, what's your name? We got to do a cheer. Go ahead and hold the trophy for me." And I always get somebody, "Carl, what's up, brother?" I always get everybody's first name. And I say, "What's your first name? What's your first name?"
Braxton.
His first name is Braxton, everybody. If you don't believe there's some higher power stuff going on this little planet, the odds of somebody also being the name Braxton 38 seconds after I put my dad's name, who happens to be Braxton, there's something going on. So that brings us all Cardinal fans together. Who is your favorite player and why?
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Hey, we're looking for the small business owners and leaders in our community to be on our show. This is the Your Little Castle Show. We air 3 times a week, every week on ABC, and we would like to put somebody you know, or maybe it's you, who's a business owner to be on our show. You'll sit right here in our guest chair, right here, sitting here talking to us. We're going to put on the wall your website and everything about you and highlight you as a leader. Fill out the form you see here on our website. It's bigleagues.com, and if you go to bigleagues.com, fill out this form. It takes just a couple seconds, and you can even schedule yourself right here. Schedule yourself to be on the show, and there is no charge for us to record you. There's no charge to be in the studio. Check it out if you would like to be on. Fill out the form again, bigleagues.com. This is where we can turn any interview into a series of clips. Check that out. Go to bigleagues.com. So with that, we can see how media has really changed and influenced the world. Magnetize your media. Pick up our book right here. Yours truly wrote the introduction. This is a #1 seller on Amazon, and it will help you to understand how important it is to keep up with media these days. If you're a new guy starting out a business, you want to stay on top of this stuff, because media can change the way things go, and an important component for marketing these days. A guy like yourself, you've seen businesses evolve though over many years. Has the internet changed the way things are done? You get all of your business, you say, from Angie's leads and
yes,
other places?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I got into business, Yellow Pages was the big thing, and now you ask anybody under 25 doesn't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
But Yellow Pages was a huge thing growing up as far as advertising was concerned, but today it's all social media.
Yeah, the web, the internet, all of those things that help us all communicate and keep in touch with each other. Give me, I like what you were talking about before. How often is it the case? We talk about this, my little cost analysis piece of the part of the show. How often is it somebody, these big companies, I'm not going to name any of them, I mean, they're not all this way, but they got a newly trained sales guy, and his job is there to analyze the plumbing problem, for instance, and they come in and say, oh, got to have a whole new whatever, all new plumbing, all new whatever. And then the truth is, if they just pushed down, I had another guy who cleaned, he does the Roto-Rooter stuff, and he said, all they needed was to have somebody clean out the plumbing below. There was nothing wrong with the plumbing, it's just there was a clog further down. How often is it the case where people are being swindled a little bit, if you will, to say, big job coming in, that's kind of what led you to doing this, isn't it? Is that the case where you get the cost analysis, you're helping people get that second opinion, because how often is it, it could have been a much more simple, less costly fix. Are you seeing it a lot?
I think I see it more than I've ever seen it in the past, and I don't know if I'm just exposed to it more, but I've run into situations time and time again where I'll go in and said, you don't need to do the big fix, just do the small fix and let's work this problem down the road and see what happens. I had an example where a big company came in and told the lady that, the hot water heater's 12 years old, it's getting close to its end of its life, and you need to spend $3,000 fixing it. And I said, well, but the overflow, there's a pressure relief valve. I said, the only thing leaking right now is the pressure relief valve. Let's, for $200, solve the pressure relief valve, and let's see if it works. Give it time. And that's been a couple of years, and she hasn't called me yet. So, a hot water heater can last 40 years.
Yeah, okay. I'll say I've got a hot water heater. Mine's 21 years old now, and it's still pumping it out.
Until it quits working, don't touch it.
And what is it that fails on hot water heaters? A buddy of mine was moving, and he said, I got these electric rod things. He says, this is what's going to fail on your hot water heater. If you're going to need anything, those are what run out.
Well, I wouldn't replace the rod in those in today's world in St. Louis. I can't speak for the rest of the country. I would tell you, if you're getting hot water coming out of your faucet and it's not leaking on the floor, don't replace it. Don't flush it. When I grew up, there was a bunch of sediment and stuff in your hot water heater because there was stuff in the water that came into your house. They're doing such a great job with St. Louis water that you're not getting that kind of sediment. And by, to try and maintain a hot water heater and spending $100, $120 to service it once a year, well, after 15 years, you can buy a new one. So it doesn't make sense to service the hot water from a flushing standpoint. Things that normally go wrong is they just get old and they quit working, and it's just not cost effective to try and fix a 20-year-old hot water heater.
Yeah, and now they have these instant water. What do they have? They have ones where they just heat the water up right in the pipe. How do those things work? Are those worth it?
I don't like them personally. I think they're expensive. They're expensive to install, and they have. I like the the 40-gallon gas hot water heater has been around a long time, and you can put a 40-gallon gas hot water heater in, and it can last you 30 years. There's not a instant hot water heater on the system that I'm aware of that can last more than 10 or 12, 15 years.
Oh, wow. So you spend quite a bit more, get that instant water, but how much does that cost you extra? Because water is relatively inexpensive. So I think I get like 7 liters of water in my pipes, because it's down in the basement, and then we got to go to the second floor that I'm wasting, but that's 35 cents worth of water or something.
That's not much water you're wasting, but at the same time, in general, you can't get that heater closer to your. If you took out your 40-gallon gas hot water heater and put in an instant hot water heater, it's going basically in the same location.
Okay.
I mean, if you had a 4,000 square foot house and the hot water heater was a mile away, but you could put in a circulating pump that would do the exact same thing, but it'd be a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient than running. The instant hot water heater, because I think if you look on the side of a hot water heater, I think it runs $400 a year to heat hot water. I mean, that's $30 a month. It's $1 a day. I mean, so you're going to save 17 cents in a month. I mean, the instant thing is not cost effective.
There you go. So, business analyst here too for you. That'll make sure Don knows what he's talking about and can make sure that you stay on path here. But you enjoy doing this. If you had to say, what is it you enjoy most about what you do? What would you say that is?
I just like being able to solve the problem, and as I'm getting older, it's nice to go in and find people who appreciate the fact that you know what you're talking about, and you're not necessarily there trying to sell them a whole bunch of stuff, and you say, no, let's don't fix this. And they're like, we're not used to someone coming in here and just trying to do the least amount of work to get the problem solved. Most of the time, guys coming in to bid, tear the whole thing out and start over, which is a lot of times not the case.
There you go. So saving money too with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Tell me the process. Somebody says, obviously, Mr. Uxa here. Did I say that right?
Uxa.
Uxa. I'll make sure I say it right. Uxa here. I'm going to try to say it the opposite way. Anyway, we got you there. Now they'll remember. I've been told, hey, I messed up another name or two on the show. But Mr. Uxa here, super handyman, says, you can tell people are interested. What's the process for somebody to hire you?
Basically, just call my cell phone number, and a lot of times what I'll do with people is say, take a picture of whatever your problem is, and I would tell you probably 85% of the time I can tell you what the problem is by looking at the picture. And I can give you a really good idea of what needs to be done. I've helped repeat customers before in the past, and they'll say, well, what about this? And I said, well, go over and try and walk them through the process as to what's wrong with it. I've helped people light their pilot light again with FaceTime. And because you don't want to spend me to come over and just light your pilot light if you have some idea. But I've also had some other people who they were moving and they couldn't disconnect the hoses for their washing machine, which is just a regular washing machine. They're like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm afraid I'll break it. So they told me to come over and disconnect it, and then at the end of the day, I put it back in the new house they moved it into because the movers wouldn't disconnect the water line. And it's a garden hose.
It's
connection.
a garden hose. Yeah, I do that.
And they're like, no, I'm not going to touch it. I said, fine, I'll do it. I try to tell her that she can do it. I have complete faith in her ability, and she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I said, okay.
Hey, pay for convenience.
Yes.
Spraying water all over the house is not necessarily the easier answer. People feel more. They're really good at what they do. They trust you to do.
Correct.
What do you enjoy most about the St. Louis market and everything that St. Louis offers? You've talked about some of the unique features of St. Louis. What do you like about St. Louis?
I think St. Louis is a great place I grew up here. I've been here all my life. I think it's a fabulous place to raise a family, and it's hardworking people. It's a great place to retire to and to raise a family. I've just enjoyed it all my life.
And as far as property values and home values, St. Louis, you get a little more bang for the buck, if you will. Is that true? And you see where some of these houses out in L.A. and New York, you're talking about $2 million houses that are the same size as your $2,500 house, 25 square foot house in St. Louis, but they're 5 times the price. As the maintenance and everything go into that too.
Yes, from that standpoint, St. Louis has always been an affordable place. It's never been going up by 30% a year, and it's never gone down by 30% a year. A lot of the places, and you're seeing it in Southern Florida right now. I mean, places skyrocketed 5 years ago, and now they're cooling off. You don't see that in St. Louis. St. Louis is very, consistently going up that 4 or 5% every year.
We just had a guest and they're talking about that, and I said, well, prices are too high. He says, no, they're plummeting in Florida specifically. It must be something I got to tune in for. Hey, everybody, stay tuned. This is our guest, super handyman. There he is, Don Uxa. Say it right. Owner, founder, super handyman, LLC, DonUxa.com. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up.